Alright, horror hounds, and welcome to an episode of This Just In. Today we're going to be talking about Curse of Chucky.
Play with this.
Andy!
Curse of Chucky kind of goes back to the old roots, a little more of a whodunit almost. I mean, everybody knows it's Chucky by then, but still, it kind of goes back to Child's Play 1, first person. Chucky the doll is actually talking to a kid, not him just going all crazy with his words and everything else. We introduce a new character here. We do have Nika. Nika is actually played by Fiona Dourif, which is Brad Dourif's daughter, the guy who plays the voice of Chucky. Alright, so starting with the things I'm in on with this movie. Nika. I was a little nervous, to say the least, when seeing that they're going to bring in Brad Dourif's daughter, and you've never heard of her before, and she's never been in anything. If she'd be any good. But she's actually really good in this movie. She just play a character who is paralyzed and can't feel anything from the waist down, but they use that to the advantage in the movie. There's actually one little neat scene where Chucky slices her leg on an elevator, but she doesn't realize it because she has no feeling there. No, neat little fun part for that. Another part of the movie that I would say is kind of an in for me is the setting. I like the haunted house setting. Brings it more of a gothic look, a little different, definitely much less flamboyant and energetic as the last one with the Seed of Chucky. Also, there's a really cool kill scene in this where Nika has all of her family over to the house and she's making dinner. She makes chili. Her niece is helping her, and Chucky is her niece's little helper. In this, when they leave the room, you see Chucky put rat poison into a chili bowl. Then they put the chili bowl on the table, and it's kind of like spinning around Russian roulette style. Wait and see who was unlucky enough to get that rat poison chili.
You really outdone yourself this time.
Art, sit next to me here.
If you insist.
Wow. Oh, thanks, Jill. Make yourself comfortable.
Oh, you brought out the nice china.
So the kills in this movie, for me, are a little bit mixed with good and bad. So the first kill is Nika's mom, but it's off screen. And just a disappointment. Movie after movie after movie after movie. We always get off screen kills. But for this one, the first kill to be off screen, that's kind of crappy in a sense. But Father Frank's death, he ends up being in a car accident, and it's showing him there when he's still alive. It looks like, but losing a lot of blood. And when they pull up the car, his head falls off and blood sprays everywhere because it turns out the wreckage was actually holding his head in place still there. And then Barb's death. Barb's death I like because Barb is almost an insufferable character throughout this entire movie, and you want her to die.
You have your mother's eyes. And they were always too fucking close!
Alright, and the last thing I would call an in this movie is the post-credit screen. So it's not really part of the movie, but it was in the post-credits when you watched it. And that introduced us to Alex Vincent playing Andy Barkley again. Good stuff. Alright, so the mixed things in this movie for me would be Chucky's look. In the beginning of the movie, he looks very weird and awkward. Very weird and awkward. He does eventually have somebody realize that it looks like his skin is kind of peeling off a little bit, and they peel off the extra skin they used, and it shows that his face is stitched up. Not exactly the same as you saw in previous movies, because clearly Seed of Chucky was a very big bomb for Don Mancini. So when he came back and made Curse, which he wrote and directed this one as well, he didn't have quite the budget anymore to be able to make the doll look as good as it did before. But it's still pretty good. Another thing I'm mixed on for this movie is the affair angle. with the au pair. So after Nika's mom dies, her family comes, and her sister comes with her husband, their daughter, and their au pair. And it keeps looking like the husband is sniffing up the babysitter's dress, so to say, trying to get with her. And then it's revealed a little bit later on that the au pair was actually hired for the wife, and they're having their own little affair, which then leads to a very meh scene for a kill scene. Well, the last thing I'm mixed out of this movie is the ending. So this is one of those rare movies where Chucky doesn't die at all in the ending. So at the end, when there's a big showdown between Nika and Chucky, the cops end up coming in, finding her, and they see the doll that she was trying to stab up. And you see her in court, and they show the evidence of the rat poison, which has her fingerprints on it because she lived there. And then there is an axe that was used, which she pulled out of her own leg thanks to Chucky, but her fingerprints are there. So she keeps saying it's a killer doll, and we get the conviction of she's going to be going away into a mental hospital because she's killed 5 people and blames it on a doll and doesn't take any real responsibility for her actions. And then when that leaves, we then cut to her niece, who's now living somewhere else, and Chucky shows up on her doorstep in a box. And when she gets home and she sees that Chucky's there, Chucky says he wants to play a game called Hide the Soul. And then we see him doing the chant, and it ends. So we're left to believe that he finally put his soul, inside that doll. But then that post-credit scene shows the doll being delivered to Andy Markley's house. So it's just kind of like, what's going on here? And in this movie, Tiffany is the one that's revealed who's actually mailing out these dolls. And she kills another. So the cop, after the trial, the cop's bringing the evidence back in his vehicle. And she comes up behind him and slits his throat with a nail filer. Just like we saw in Bride of Chucky. So now she's done the same kill twice. After she spent all that time in Bride of Chucky giving him shit for not changing up his kills. By Tiffany. Alright, so the things I'm out on. Not a whole lot in this movie, actually. I enjoy this movie quite a bit. That first kill, though, being off screen. It's bad enough to have kills off screen. But for your very first kill of the entire movie to be that meh, just sad. Jill's death, which she's the au pair, just sitting in the room in her bra and underwear while the daughter's sleeping in the bed near hers. And she gets electrocuted to death. It's just not real memorable. And then Charles Lee Ray's origin story to this family, showing that he was once friends with this family, and he killed the 2 girls' dad, then move in with the mom. But he supposedly was with Tiffany, and in Bride of Chucky, he never wanted to settle down with Tiffany. But in this one, he's pissed because she called the cops, and they're supposed to be a family, and she doesn't want him to be around the girls, but he doesn't understand why at all. And then it shows that it goes from where, in that scene where he has her tied up and she called the cops, he ends up stabbing her in the stomach, which is why Nika's paralyzed, which is cool, okay, whatever. But then it shows that's when he left and got gunned down from the very first movie, so it's like a full circle connection kind of thing. Except for, I thought in Bride of Chucky they were saying that he was with Tiffany. Now they're saying he's with this Sarah woman who we barely even see in the movie because she dies right in the beginning. So that whole concept, I just felt like it was watered. Like, I don't know, it was just extra. That wasn't really needed. So My overall thoughts on this movie: I give this one a 4 out of 5. Most of the kills are really good, even though there's not a lot of them in this movie, but they're pretty good. And I do believe the setting is much different. We haven't been kind of locked in one house the entire time, so it's kind of neat that they were able to do it in one location, but still keep it lively. And Chucky, as always, was good. The doll looked a little funny in this one. It's always the biggest downfall for me for this movie is the look of Chucky throughout most of it. Just meh. But neat thing about this movie is they do go, like I said, back to old school, and Chucky doesn't talk a lot. It takes him a long time. Like I think it's like halfway through the movie before he even says a word out loud. So in a sense, I think that's pretty neat to go back to the basics and the roots, which was a good choice by Don Mancini after he went all the way to the comedy drama from Seed of Chucky to Haunted House. And is Chucky the one doing this? Like I think like we know it's Chucky and they show that, but they go back to the roots of the first one where they whisper to the kid and the kid's like, "Oh, Chucky wants to know what's for dinner." So I think that was a pretty good move on his part. Um, so the next one we're going to be going over is Cult of Chucky, which seems to be the most divisive one in the bunch. Alright, so have you hit that like button, subscribe, comment, share with all your friends, and until the next one, rest in peace.